Do you want to know why there's a hate between Asian people and black people? Let me tell you. There's no hate. Asian people love black people. Do you want to know why Asian Americans just want to be black all the time? Like, they just want to be cool because we have no representation in the media. You know what I mean? All we got is white people and then black comedy. That's all we got. Like, we got Bruce Lee from like the 70s. That's all we got. When we finally like some cartoons that people like, it's like Dragon Ball Z. We're like, yeah, this is awesome. Wait, the ultimate form is blonde hair and blue eyes? What the? You know what I mean? So, where's the love? Because love is here. Asian people love black people. So don't forever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
So Asian Americans are finally admitting they have been standing on black shoulders this whole time. Look, I've been watching this conversation blow up, and it's well. You got Asian communities finally saying out loud we've been knew that every civil right, every voting vote access, every labor protection they enjoy in America, blacks folks bled for that. But here's the tension nobody wants to sit with. While they were climbing that ladder we built on a whole lot of them, we're kicking down the task, chasing white acceptance like it was a golden ticket. The modern minority myth wasn't just a compliment. It was a weapon designed to make us look lazy while making them look obedient. But something is shifting right now, and if this solidarity is real and not performative, it changes everything about how we build power in this country. So let us talk about what happens actually when people finally wake up to those shoulders they're standing on. With these clips, Asians finally meeting the importance of black Americans, and then I'll be back to discuss everything with you guys.
And this actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially.
Sad to say, but I know that there's anti-blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-blackness is global. And I think like
it's a very long historical answer.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionalized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things. Which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, to keep upholding this idea of, and instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-blackness, because one is,
hand in hand,
and they push this anti-blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, come to those terms, and instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand.
This is me sending love to the black community because we love you, we love your support. Sending you flowers.
Dear Asian people, please stop being so racist and anti-black all the time. When we seek white acceptance, we're being anti-black. Black people have been saying this shit for years. Everyone, including Asian people, have been appropriating black culture far longer and more insidiously than any other group. How are we going to expect black people to be in solidarity with us when we're still so anti-black and crave proximity to whiteness? Asians are where we are today because black and indigenous people fought for our civil rights, yet y'all still want to sit at the white people's table. Asians are still doing shit like feeding into the model minority myth, and a lot of y'all are still obsessed with chasing after wealth or prestige using the same systems that have exploited black people for generations. And just because you went to a good school, landed a corporate job, or assimilated into white culture doesn't mean you can become politically apathetic and throw under the bus all the black activists and organizers who have fought tirelessly so you can enjoy the rights that you have today. Asians, please stop being so complicit in white supremacy. It's embarrassing.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you to the black community who's always having our back. You guys know the feeling that we're feeling right now. You guys choose to speak out for us and make us feel like, oh, we're seeing and we're understand. There's people out there that's understanding us. And I always want to take a chance to thank to the black community, the black culture, because I spent 2 years of my high school time in Canada with a black family. And that just directly changed and influenced my whole personality and my life. Because if I spent the first year with a white family, again, no hate, but that's the truth. While I was cooking my own cultural food, they would give me this weird look and saying that, oh, what is that smell? Like that kind of old Asian weird things. I was 14, so I wasn't aware of that's racism. And I let them always play in front of my face. And I moved into a black family. The situation just turned totally different. I'm allowed to cook any food that I want, and the food that they cook is just tastes much better. That's not the point. The point is, one day I got a horrible fever. I ended up in the emergency room. The host family mom, she has every reason to not care about me because that's not her duty. She was not my guardian. But I was very little. She chose to stay up with me in the emergency room, up all night, just for taking care of me. That's something that I will never forget. And that's how I started building my connection with the black community. And now I'm a dancer. I'm learning hip hop. All of my hip hop teachers, they were black. They were telling me the story about hip hop, the history about hip hop. And back into that family, they were always talking about back in the day, how do they suffer? Like, how do they get through the suffering? That just inspires me and influences me so much to respect black culture and black community. This is a culture that is so strong and influential just because how they get through things and how people stand on their ground and how people speak up for themselves. And also at the same time, taking care of other people. So I really want to take a moment to thank to all black people.
Have you ever noticed how some truths take generations to be spoken out loud? Right now, across Asian American communities, there's this raw, uncomfortable reckoning happening. People are finally saying, we owe black Americans everything. Not in a guilt trip way, not in a performative way, but in a factual, historical, undeniable way. And as a black person watching this unfold, I got questions, I got hope, but I also got receipts about why this conversation is both overdue and absolutely necessary. Let me set the table, guys. The model minority myth, you know that idea that Asian Americans are the good immigrants who succeed through hard work and silence, that wasn't created to uplift Asian communities. It was crafted in the 60s during the civil rights movement as a direct response to black demands for justice. The message was clear: see, they can do it. Why can't you? It was a lie designed to divide, to make black struggle look like black failure, to make Asian success look like proof that America works if you just shut up and assimilate. And it worked. For decades, it worked. But here's what they didn't teach in those textbooks. Every single right that Asian Americans have today, the ability to vote, to own property in certain neighborhoods, to not be paid slave wages to protest without being labeled terrorist, all of that was won in the streets by black activists. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights of 1965, these weren't gifts, they were demands backed by blood, boycotts, and bodies on the line. Now, I'm seeing videos of Asian Americans breaking down in tears, talking about how they were taught to fear black people, how the media they consumed, controlled. Okay, let's be real, by white gatekeepers, painted us as criminals, as lazy, as dangerous. One person they say they grew up clutching their past data when a black person walked by, only to realize years later that this was programming, colonizer programming, the same propaganda that kept our people divided globally, was working overtime in America. But here is like this way it gets deep. They are also saying they are done chasing proximity to whiteness, that the seat at the white people's table was never real safety, that being the model minority meant being the buffer, the tool, the wedge between white supremacy and black liberation, and they are rejecting it. This is huge because anti-blackness is not just an American problem, it is global. From Asia to Africa to Europe, colonizers planted these seeds. They told everyone that black people were at the bottom, that our cultures were inferior, that our struggles were our fault, and even after independence, even after migration, those lies survived. I think about my own experiences in diaspora spaces. I've seen African immigrants distance themselves from African Americans, trying to be the good, like trying to be the good ones, the good immigrants. I've seen Caribbean folks do the same. We internalize these hierarchies, thinking if we just act right, speak right, achieve right, we'll be spared. But this doesn't spare us. It sees us. It uses us against each other. So when I see Asian Americans publicly and acknowledging that they have been complicit, that they appropriated our culture, wore the fashion, listened to our music, adopted the slang while staying silent on our oppression, that's the kind of honesty that can actually build something. One woman in these videos was saying that she learned hip hop back from black teachers and it changed her entire life. Not just her dance moves, her entire worldview. Because black culture is not just cool. It's resilient, it's strategic, it's a masterclass in how to stay human, how to create joy, how to build power when the whole system is designed to crush you. And here's the part that hits me. Black people have been the blueprint for resistance in this country since day one. We didn't just fight for ourselves, we fought for the idea that anyone could be free, and yeah, that's exhausting. It's unfair that we had to bleed for rights that should have been automatic, But the power in that history is undeniable. And when other communities finally recognize that, when they stop trying to leapfrog over us to get to whiteness, when they say we stand with you because you stood for us faster, that's when real collision happens. But it can't be performative. It can't be hashtag. It has to be a shift in how resources are shared, how credit is given, how power is built. Because solidarity is not about sympathy, it's about strategy. So here's my takeaway. This conversation among Asian American is a mirror for all of us in the diaspora. Are we going to keep playing the game of who's closest to whiteness, or are we going to recognize that none of us are free until all of us are free? Black Americans have been teaching that lesson through every march, every song, every movement for centuries. The question now is who's ready to actually learn it. If you're Asian, African, Caribbean, Latinx, whatever, and you benefit from the rights black activists fought for, you owe more than acknowledgement. You owe action, you owe solidarity that costs you something, because the ancestors who bled for this didn't do it so we could fight over crumbs. They did it so we could flip the whole table. And if we are finally ready to do that together, then maybe we are going to build something that actually lasts. That's where I'm at, and let me know in the comments if you think that shift too, or if you think it's just performative. And if this hits you, share it, because this conversation needs to be heard everywhere. Peace out.